What is going on, you guys? This is Eric here, eRoo, Trades and Gains, or Max. You guys, he will be joining us in a bit. Just want to get this kicked off today. I know it's noon right now on a Wednesday. We've got lots of earnings coming up after the bell. We've got Tesla, we've got Google, IBM, Chipotle. So we'll get to it in a moment. Just wanted to go over, we got quite a few profits to share with you guys today. We've got some newcomers, 166% return, 294 bucks off of that. You know, small investments can make you quite a bit already. This one already 500, 800 bucks. PDD off of Chemo's call out, 7K. 12K off of another PDD call out, 182%, 111%, almost 3K right there. The ILMN Illumina call out that we had on stacks popped, now looking at over 122%. Chemo's PDD positions, man, ready over a quarter mil. This what, 200K, 132K. So just wanted to share with you guys those real quick so you guys get an idea, what we're all about, especially if you're new to stacks, you haven't been a part of our community long. The profits channel is there for you guys to see what people are doing, what they've been making money on. And to also prove to you guys, Stacks AI, we're here to make money. Let's jump into earnings for today. I'll put myself behind it. So earnings, we've got Tesla, we've got Alphabet, or Google as you guys know it, ServiceNow, IBM, Chipotle, QuantumScape, ALK, Alaska Airlines. Tomorrow before open we've got American Airlines, Blackstone, Nokia, Dow, Southwest, NASDAQ, Keurig, Dr. Pepper, Honeywell, and then after close tomorrow Intel, INTC, Newmont. I think those are the big ones. Don't see anything else that I necessarily think we have to go through. If you guys see any tickers on here, if you see anything that you guys want us to go over, go ahead and let us know. Comment in that chat box for us so that we can get to those for you guys. Any discussion is always appreciated. As always, if you guys are listening to this live, go ahead and comment stacks in our chat box so I know you're here. Also, if you guys could go ahead and give us that thumbs up for the like button, that way we can help play this algorithm game, get this out to more people as we go. Got Max here joining us. I wanted to review a little bit about yesterday's callouts and a few of the earnings. Always being transparent with you guys. A few of them didn't quite go as well in our way as we would have liked. The first one I want to point out is that EQT call out that I had. It's still in the formation of a Wyckoff reaccumulation. We're just seeing a little bit more of a dip down. I do still believe this is going to be a last point of supply. So for buying further out in the in time, this still very likely could bounce back up. We just might be next earnings and not this one that we saw. Interestingly enough too, we did see a beat on EPS, but the revenue was a surprise, a little bit lower than expected. I do believe that as well. We did just see natural gas prices drop, which affected this earnings. Otherwise, I would have said, before that announcement, I would have expected this to actually pop up a bit more. So that EQT position is probably down a little bit. Another one that's really interesting is this Enphase ENPH position. Like I'd drawn and I'd written in my newsletter, there's room for this to pop up, but we still have yet to see it exactly show our automatic reaction. So we're still waiting for that to happen. Now, the drop that we did see didn't break that selling climax, didn't show us more volume than what we saw beforehand. So there's still a likelihood that we could see a reaction to the upside. This one was actually a double beat. I want you guys to understand that. We saw both EPS and revenue higher than expected. However, reaction and price does not always have to react in exactly that same way. So that's where we got to be careful with earnings. As much as Max and I are going to give you the details, give you the numbers, give you the charts, all that, there are times where sometimes these things go the opposite direction than what the earnings actually says. A big part of it also has to do with what they give out in terms of their guidance. So the guidance for the next quarter wasn't as great as what an analyst wanted, and that's kind of what led to this. Here's a good one too. Oh, let me make sure that, yeah, AT&T. AT&T came out with, from what I was reading, pretty stellar earnings actually. Crushes subscriber growth. Wall Street shrugs. They ended up reporting pretty good numbers. But what you'll actually see here is what I found really interesting was they reported that, and you saw a pretty big sell-off right away. I mean, big in this situation, what, 5%? All right, okay. Opened up within the first 10 minutes, got bought up, and now it's back up to where it closed yesterday. So sometimes you'll see this. Sometimes you'll see positive earnings and a sell-off, and then things get snatched up quick. People maybe change their mind. Maybe the earnings call gave a different direction and gave, better guidance. So, again, earnings, there is two ways to approach earnings. You can go ahead and play the run-up. Actually, I would say three ways to play earnings. You've got the run-up, you've got the earnings itself, and you've got the days after. Some people play the run-up to earnings. Play, the weeks, 2 weeks beforehand. If you do expect, and all the analysts are expecting good reports, you might see a run-up. You can play the run-up, and you can avoid the IV crush. You can actually play the run-up of IV, which generally will help you. Earnings, the biggest risk. Obviously, it's a gamble. Up or down, it's hard to tell. A lot of times when it does work out in your favor, it can be pretty extreme, pretty big returns. So that's why a lot of people like to play earnings. But like I said, it doesn't always have to make complete sense. Up or down, beat, double miss, whatever. That only has so much to do with it. And there are plenty of times where the reaction you see overnight doesn't exactly match what reaction is going to happen during the day, or the reaction that you see initially can very likely reverse after you see an earnings call or something like that. Then what you have is after earnings. You can give it a couple days. Usually they say give it about 2 to 3 days after earnings to let the news settle, let the IV drop, and then start considering what the move to the next earnings is going to look like, especially with the guidance that they've given. So 3 different ways to approach earnings. Go look at your favorite tickers. If you're especially if you're a newer trader and looking at charts, go find 2 to 3 charts that you want to look at, that you want to understand the business of. It could be your favorite businesses. It could be a business that is just very hot, one of the Mag 7, etc. And take a look at those patterns and what's going on, because again, a lot of the same types of traders, the same algorithms are going to be assigned to certain tickers, and you can start to understand that pattern of how things are moving a little bit better. Especially, companies that are always poised to beat their earnings, always poised to do well, etc. There are ways where once you get familiar with what tickers that you are looking at, can make a very big, make a big splash with those. Let's see, what else? Go back to my chart here. We've got, like I said, Tesla, Google, ServiceNow, IBM, Chipotle, QuantumScape coming up after the bell. I want to do this real quick. I wanted to review Open and review Kohl's, because I know those are 2 of the bigger names in terms of what's going on in the news and Wall Street bets and things like that. I want you to take a close look at this chart right here for open.
Oh.
So open, you had this big spike up to the top, you had a big sell-off, and that's where all the volume is. So if you see this blue transparent line that I have, that's the volume in terms of average volume over the course of, what do I have it set at? 5 days, or in this 5 hours. So you'll see a big spike in volume, you'll see it come back down, and then you'll see it try to go back, but not quite. So the thing is, if we do want to see this go higher, you need to see volume continue to come in. And one of the interesting things that I remember hearing about was that Open had like 1.8 billion shares traded on this one day. For a company that doesn't make money, that's losing money, and ultimately was just another meme name, okay? Yes, it can pop. That can happen. But the sell-off is going to be drastic, and you also have to understand, unless there is continued buying pressure, more than likely it's going to sell off. Now, I will admit it is making kind of a wedge pattern coming down that you know, it could still have another leg up. But you have to understand there needs to be another push for it, and that volume really needs to, you know, if anything, my prediction for this is that if there is another move, it's just going to be a dead cat bounce. Like, we're going to see something like, I would even say the dead cat bounce might have already happened, which was the second day. Okay, so be careful. We had some people in our Discord asking, why, you know, how can I capitalize off of this? How can I make sure I make some money off of these things? A lot of times, by the time you actually get this information about it, it's already too late.
It's too late.
Yeah, when the media's talking about it, you can also understand and use your own community as a gauge of that sentiment. Are people talking about it? Does, you know, if you bring up stocks to somebody in the middle of the supermarket, are they going to bring up Open? Are they going to talk about open door technologies and they understand? I like to use, there's a grandma indicator. If grandma's talking to you about Bitcoin, talking to you about GameStop, and in this case talking to you about open door technologies, it's probably time to sell. Because by the time it hits the public and the people who are in the nooks and crannies of the news cycle, those situations generally mean it's too late, okay? If the ship's already sailed, in most situations like this, you're probably going to get crushed. And another thing I will point out is, okay, Eric, well, if I know it's going to sell off, should I get into puts? Well, you got to be careful, and I did show this to our community as well. Let me pull it up over here on my Weeble for you guys. Understand that IV is what you need to understand. Implied volatility. I've done this little, this little lesson for you guys. I'll do it again. Implied volatility is a gauge as to how far price can go up or down that would be considered normal. Okay, that's the layman's terms of it. For those that understand math a little bit better, it is the average, it's the standard deviation up and down from where price stands. So let me give you guys this. It's on our Discord as well. Right here. Okay, IV percentage is a calculation based on the standard deviation. So here, if they say a stock or a option is priced at $50 and it's got a 20% standard or 20% IV score, that means it can go up $10 and down $10. There's a 68% chance, that's the standard deviation. Going up and down, that's normal. All right, so losing out on that 20% up and down, that's normal. Now let's go back to our Weeble here and take a look as to what these numbers said for open. Okay, implied volatility 800, 570, 430, 518, 555. Okay, so what that means is that, yes, while these are pretty cheap, if it goes up or down, it's going to end up in a situation where it's if it goes up or down, it can go up extremely high, but going down to zero is actually just a normal standard deviation, and it's well within that standard deviation. Jasmine, yes, there is a Discord. You should. I guess it's not in our description. If you go to investorcentralclub.com, under memberships, there is a Discord membership for you to sign up with. It will get you access to our full Discord. However, if you do sign up for Stacks, our Stacks membership does include a portion of our Discord server. Let me show you here. Move me over. There we go. So if you are in our Stacks software, you do got access to our main chat, a few of our traders, and a couple of other channels for you to see as well. So you have two choices of how you want to participate if you'd like to join our Discord and our community. All right, so I hope you guys understand that IV in a lot of these situations, and more likely than not, it's going to crush most people. Same thing here with KSS. So KSS, Kohl's, I don't know if you do any sort of home improvement projects. Or no, that's not Kohl's. That's, I always get them mixed up. Kohl's and, what's the other company?
Crap. Restoration Hardware? No, that's like the opposite end of the spectrum.
What's the other one that's not Home Depot?
Oh, Lowe's.
Lowe's. I always get them mixed up because they weren't around my area when I grew up. Okay, yeah, Kohl's is the one that offers you a damn coupon for everything, right? They're the ones that with every purchase you get like a 25% off coupon. So, I know, my mother-in-law still goes there to shop and things like that, but it's a lot of people, the only reason that we ever go there is to return our Amazon purchases. So Kohl's had this big giant spike. Look at the same idea here. Big old volume spike. Today, very, very low volume. So is this run up over? Very likely. I think it's done. Okay. What happens and what causes this type of movement? It's called a short squeeze. A short squeeze is a situation where shorts can take positions against a stock, against the stock price, if they think a stock is going to do poorly, and shorts means that you can borrow shares to sell them off. But unlike when you purchase a stock, you give them your money, they give you the rights to that stock, and then you hold on to it. When you buy a short, though, and you short a company, there is an interest involved with it. So there's an interest rate in which because you're borrowing a stock, you're actually losing money over time if that stock doesn't go down. Now, what ends up happening is when a stock goes down low enough and eventually people start buying it, sometimes those shorts find themselves in the red. And very soon what it can happen is it can push a lot of shorts all into the red that all want to get out at the same time. And in doing so, it creates a lot of extra buying pressure that pushes the price of a stock up higher and higher. And when that happens, you'll see these things called a short squeeze. And so that's very likely what happened with Kohl's, was a lot of shorts all got out at the same time. It's very possible they shorted again up at the top. But at the end of the day, it was all of that short pressure all trying to get out at the same time. The famous short squeezes that we know are GameStop. Obviously, if you guys look back on GameStop, that was the one where, for some reason, the float, meaning that the amount of shares that there are available to short, somehow they ended up shorting over 100% of how many stocks were available in the actual company. And so when they needed to get themselves out of it, it shot the price up so extremely high. In this situation, it went from like a $5 stock, and it shot itself all the way up toward like $500 or something like that. Right? They did a 5-to-1 or 4-to-1 split. So, yeah, about $500 or so over the course of just a few days. And in those situations, you have to understand that ramps up that IV. It makes it extremely expensive to play options against it. Yes, you might have seen a lot of people make a lot of good money off of it, but it was a bit of a gamble. And the moment, you have to understand, if you were to buy calls at that $400 to $500 level, it never returned to those prices, even when it did have its dead cat bounce and things like that. So just be aware. Short squeezes, I do believe, are back on the menu right now, but open and calls are probably not the ones to look at this point. I saw some talk about how RKT rocket companies had a little bit of a short squeeze. That's not even really a short squeeze, but you do see a lot of volume coming in for that. Yeah, these type of things, you need to get in on them early. You do not want to get into them too late. Okay. All right, let's get into our earnings and what we've got for today. We've already talked a little bit about Tesla and Google, but a quick review on them. Tesla, we're fairly bearish on Tesla in terms of the overall picture. Can it pop up a little bit? Yes, it definitely can. It can probably go up toward that. Let me mark my levels here. Probably come up back toward that 350 level. The little wedge that we're in, it very likely can come back up to those points. And then what we have are some lower resistance levels that we could head back down to. But on the overall picture, unless, here's the bullish case that we really have has to do with the fact that expectations are fairly low for it. Elon does a great job of pumping his own stock. He tends to overpromise but underdeliver. But if he says, AI or robotics enough times in his earnings call, there's a chance that this could still pump. On the other end of it, though, there are a lot of headwinds. This is the quarter in which a lot of the tariff issues may start to be fully priced into a company's earnings report. So those are the things that could very likely push Tesla further down. For Google, Tesla as well, the stacks, as you guys saw, the stacks was fairly even, but a little bit more bearish as well. There's always going to be calls, and there's a fair amount of buying in terms of the equity for Tesla. So that's just something to consider. Google and the Google flow tends to be quite bullish right now. There's a lot of calls for that 200 and 210, even above 220 and stuff like that, in terms of the calls for September that came in. So Google has this gap above to fill. The risk, though, is that it could drop. It could stay in this channel that it's in instead of pushing up above. There are headwinds in terms of their ad revenue because, again, with AI doing such a great job, it's been turning people away from clicking on things. They're just using the Google AI to get an idea of what their answer is and moving on from there. So will Google beat? Will Google miss? I think they should very likely beat in terms of what's projected, but will price react in the way that we want it to? But I do know quite a few people in our Discord are looking at getting into calls, especially with the unusual stuff that came in today. Let me show you guys that real quick. Google. Click on the buys. We do have a few puts here, but I think it's these ones right here. The big money, 919, 220 at about $2, and 919, 250 at 39 cents. I think those are probably the two earnings plays that you might want to consider. There is the 210 as well for big money, 5.78 mil. Now, there was somebody talking about, well, that 250 looks like it's too far out the money. I would agree with that if it was an expiration for Friday. So if you're looking at the Friday expirations that they're purchasing, 725, 725, 725, those ones definitely need to aim for something that is more likely to become in the money, because you are reporting after close on Wednesday. By Thursday, that just means there's only one more day for that to expire. If it's still out of the money, it's going to lose value extremely quickly. On this situation, though, you will see these ones, they're not aiming for too far out of the money for this. So if you wanted something for the weekly, I would say 725 for Friday. 195 is probably what you would want to target. Maybe 200 if you want a little more risk with it. The only issue with those is it's still what, almost $400 and $223 for those positions at this point. So if you are looking for an earnings play with Google, I would probably suggest between these two over here, the unusual and the big money that came in. And we did also have a bit, 54 mil and 114 mil in terms of the equity that came in just yesterday. So, okay. Let's real quick just give people a look at Tesla in terms of the flow. All right. Quite a bit of a mixed bag when it comes down to today. Quite a few puts, though, I will say. Quite a few puts. If you guys wanted an earnings play for this one, oh, those are, man, 305. They're aiming 302, under 330. That one's a little bit safer. If we do see a move down, that one will be in the money pretty quick. But that's a G per position. So IV might be a little too high right here for these. They're all well over 100% right now. So the ones further out are a little bit lower. But yeah, this big money put for 2027, they're thinking Tesla's going down below 270, but they spent 6K on each of those. And same with this one, under 320. 2 mil spent on it, but that's 8.7K per position. So I will say there's a lot of big money puts being taken. All right. Okay. Let's get into Thursday's earnings. Or actually, yeah, Thursday morning's earnings. That way, if you guys want to get into anything for those, you can. And then we'll discuss Thursday after while the rest of the things, come in. Do we have any macro stuff going on this week to be worried about?
Not really.
Okay.
So the first one's American Airlines. I put a preview out of that. EPS is expected at 79 cents. That's down 28% year over year. Revenues expected to come in at 14.29 billion, which is basically flat year over year as well. Domestic passenger revenues 9.25 billion, which is down 1%. Total international passenger revenues 3.84 billion, which is down 0.7%. Passenger load factor 84.8%, which is down from 86.6% last earnings. An EPS revision is slashed down 48% in the last 30 days. The translation here is Wall Street just lowered the bar so far. American Airlines might trip over it and still beat somehow. And that's just because when you see revisions on EPS, typically that means these things are getting priced into the stock. So those are days where you might see an aggressive drawback before some buys hit or whatever the case might be. Now, let's talk about what are people paying attention to. The credit card lifeline. Forget airplanes. It's the co-branded Citi by MasterCard AA Advantage credit card. That's getting all the buzz. American Airlines is leaning on loyalty programs to generate stable, high-margin revenue, but it doesn't exactly solve your fuel bill. International glimmer. Pacific and Latin America routes are up. International performance is giving American Airlines just enough tailwind to soften the domestic drag. We're also looking at main cabin mayhem. U.S. leisure trends have turned soft, and that's all American Airlines flies. Analysts expect the Q3 guide down due to weak booking data and tough competition. And then cost discipline plus debt talk. They're leaning hard into we're cutting costs and paying down debt. Investors want more than just spreadsheets, though. They want a reason to believe in some actual future growth. Now, with the bear versus bull fight that we have going on, the bear case here is year-over-year metrics are falling. U.S. leisure demand is fading fast. Domestic overexposure is equivalent to structural weakness, and revenue growth is non-existent. This is Q3. This is going to set up Q3 to have disappointing guidance, let's just say the least. However, their credit card cost controls, guidance expectations are already low, and cheap relative to peers are all things that are going to kind of play into their favor here. So it looks like really American Airlines is flying into earnings with a broken altimeter and a new MasterCard. If they surprise to the upside or even manage not to crater, it could fuel a broader travel rebound. But if they miss and lower guidance, they expect a drag in the whole airline sector at that point, and expect it to go revisit some accumulation areas as well before those buyers start to step in with some blind confidence.
Yeah, if we take a look over at the chart right here, I'm actually, with what I see in the chart and I'll show you guys stacks in a moment, a little bit more bullish on this because of such weak expectations. There is an accumulation pattern going on in this. We have revisited the lower end of it, so down here over at that $8 to $9 level. We've bounced off of it. There is some volume coming in. If we're able to break above that $13, we could see almost 14 pretty quickly, and then up toward 15. If it misses or doesn't quite hit their expectations, probably back down to almost like 11.30 kind of range. The lower end, $12 first, and then down to 11. Now, here's what kind of intrigued me. I just saw this a moment ago. If you pull up stacks right here, search American Airlines. I always like to gauge a sentiment of what people are getting into, you always want to click off the buy button. While it does show more puts than calls, we're looking at what just came in this last week. There are some puts for down toward $12, but look at that, $61,000. That's not that much. Now today at 8:48 this morning, keep in mind I'm on the West Coast, just for the end of not next week, but 8/8 and then 8/22. So next month, beginning of next month, they're aiming for 13 and 14. Now what's pretty nuts is that they spent almost a mil, right under a mil for that one, and right under 900K for the other one. If you guys want earnings plays and want to do, again, these are probably two of the ones that have some real genuine hope after after that earnings report. If they're able to give some good guidance, they're able to beat their earnings. I'm not necessarily even beat their earnings. If I believe if they have, they're able to show how there is perception that there is going to be more foot traffic, that they're going to be able to get more flights out and things like that, or maybe that the credit card that they're releasing is going to be doing really well. 10 of these contracts is only $240. So for American Airlines, 822, 14 strike. Or if you want one this one technically is a little bit riskier because of the shorter time frame, but keep in mind they spent $1 million on this and 900K on that one. So those are two very interesting positions for them to be taking on American Airlines, which is trading at what, 275. So they might be a little bit pricier than what's shown right here, maybe a few cents more.
Yeah, I just threw the $14 calls. That's the most interesting one to me. They're currently at 33 at the bid, and the ask is at 30. So not too big of a jump yet. But I also expect, oh my God. Yeah, I will say the $14 calls, that 37 is going to turn into open interest here within the next week, though. If we're being realistic. So the spreads might be pretty bad on them for a little bit, but I definitely see a nice return, because this is very much the same setup as Oscar. And to Eric's point, their expectations are pretty low. So it's not even about them beating. They just need to meet. They need to come in flat. And if they come in flat, that's going to be looked at as bullishness in a sector that is spiraling downward every PCE report we get, which is basically telling airlines or telling us that airlines are begging people to book flights, and people are still not doing that. So if American Airlines can come in at expectations, I'd expect a nice move here.
Well, also remember, Delta Airlines popped after, and then you also had United Airlines that also had a little bit of a pop after those. Do you think, I mean, if you look at American Airlines, they did also have a little bit of a pop, so a little bit of that from what Delta Airlines had might have already been priced in. But like I said, if it can break above that 13 right here, 1317 was what this one said. 1317, you could probably see it head up toward the next one, 1370, and then we've got, let me get a little bit more on here. 14, yeah, breaking above 1422 is where you want to see, so you can head toward lower volume. But yeah, that would probably that's a decent play to consider. What else? Let's see.
Southwest.
Yes.
Is another
Yep.
one.
That's the next one we gotta look at. LUV, love. Notice this, guys. You see that little pop with the little flag that's forming? That's happened with all the airlines that we've shown you guys. So Delta Airlines, United Airlines, American Airlines, and now Southwest all have the same similar pattern of it popping up from that lower resistance, and it's kind of just flagging. If it rejects the top end of it, of course, I think all of them will do it together. But ooh, yeah, we're right at that resistance, 3790 right here. If it can break above that, we've got some room to go above. So Southwest, same idea. Definitely a little bit more bullish than bearish on that. Let's take a look as to what Stacks has to say, though. LUV, love. Do got some. Biggest one I see is these puts. 797K for Friday under 36. That one definitely sticks out. This other one from earlier in the last week, aiming for January of 2027. So below 32 and a half. Yeah. We've got some calls. This one is definitely, I think this one's a strangle where it's aiming for it both above and below. Both for the 15th of August. Yeah, buying some calls, buying some puts. So if it goes up or down, the idea here is when you see this, so they both came in at the same time. Calls are above the same as the puts, the same strike. This is just saying if it goes up in one direction, their hope is here that whatever it goes in a direction is going to cover what they lose in the other direction. So that shows a little bit of more uncertainty of what direction Southwest may go into. And like Max said yesterday, Southwest is trying the whole, what was it? You pick your own seat type of thing. No more free seating type of situation.
No, so it's where is it? Hold on. Assigned seating.
Assigned
so
seating,
before it was like you could just kind of sit wherever. Now January 2026 is when that's going to start. So the open seat.
Well, so that's not necessarily going to affect it right away. That might not show in any of its real bottom line for another couple quarters. So.
Yeah, it's just the question is, will loyalty members jump to JetBlue or Delta?
Okay. Yeah, will they lose?
Because that's more of it. Yeah, because those people will move, like their loyal flying members will move like almost instantly. Plus,
well,
they're expected, everything's down on the expectations front, but they also are talking about how Target and Walmart and the fact that the consumer is pretty much tapped out at this point are all bearish, and also their ESP came in at down 4.59%, which does not set them up from like a EPS and revenue beat perspective. But like in terms of the middle class being representative, Southwest Airlines is like probably the best example and barometer from a travel perspective, because I would say like, yeah, Southwest is essentially the middle class of airlines because it's not that expensive, but it's not as cheap as Spirit or Frontier
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Their
So if they,
getaway, want to get away type of campaign, I think, is the main thing that comes to mind. Where
yeah,
even if you have assigned seating, I don't think that's going to push people away from it necessarily. Because if I'm looking at just trying to fly for cheap, Southwest is, especially here, I mean, or small sample size in terms of it, but here in California, from San Diego, Southwest has its own part of the terminal for them, just because they have so many flights, and just because I'm gonna have assigned seating doesn't necessarily mean I'm not gonna be flying them. But like I see what you're saying is there, the the risk to the downside, I think, is definitely there. And especially with these puts that are being taken over the course of the last few weeks, I definitely can see, if they don't have some great news about what's to come, we definitely can see it drop from here.
yeah, definitely.
If you guys are still here, I see 14 people watching us right now.
Oh,
Go ahead,
wait.
go ahead and
By
give
the
us a
way,
thumbs up. Yeah.
bags fly freeze over.
Oh yeah. Well,
And that was a big, I'll be honest, that's a big deal. That's a big draw for them, is
that
the
is
fact you
true.
never had to pay
For
bag
check
fees
bags.
plus other extras could drive 1.7 billion.
So I
And
mean, it'll improve their bottom line, and it's just more so, do people have other options as a replacement for that? But if I'm so used to flying Southwest, I mean, I'm one of those people where a lot of the Southwest flights that I take are generally going to be ones where I don't need to check a bag type of thing, where
yeah,
I'm just doing my carry-ons, my 2 carry-ons, and I'm good. So, all right. Give us a thumbs up on the channel itself. I know there's the hearts and stuff in the chat, but give it to us down below next to the Investor Central Club name. That way we could get the algorithm to push us out to some more people. That really helps us out, you guys. And again, we're doing this quite a few times, especially this week right now, to get you guys ready for earnings season, and we'll continue to do this throughout the next few weeks for a lot of those other big names that come up. Let's see. I was looking Keurig Dr. Pepper, but I don't think they have too much going on in stacks.
yeah, no, I don't think they're very heavily traded either.
Yeah, there's nothing going on in it since March.
Jesus.
Let's take a look.
What about Honeywell?
Yeah, let me look at that real quick. HON. Oh, we got some puts that came in today. 675,000 for the August 15 235 strike. IV is fairly low for an open interest. 1,500 volume on that. Some of these smaller names, guys, like we've always made sure you guys understood, be careful with the volume and open interest. That when those numbers are low, it can lead to very, very large spreads. Large spreads means that, even if it shows that you're up quite a bit, or, getting out of that position is going to be harder than anything. Yes, Google earnings we talked about yesterday in our last live stream. Google overall, I would say, has a little bit more of a bullish sentiment when it comes down to stacks. The thing that I don't love about the chart is the fact that it's already had quite a bit of a run up to this point. Some of the headwinds with AI, with the way that search works is they make a lot of money off of their ads and people clicking on links and things like that. A lot of people now with their Google AI are just using the AI search bar and they're not clicking on stuff anymore. So is there a possibility that they're going to miss their earnings because their AI service is too good and actually pushing people away from their ad, their ad revenue and things like that? Like Max was saying, they kind of are punching themselves in the face, kind of thing. So, having too good of an AI during this AI race, it's good on the AI front, but it's bad for their revenue front. But in terms of it, I did say Google earnings. If you guys are looking for a play, the cheap one here for a solid potential return, I would say is this 919 250 calls. They did spend $385,000 on it. If you have a little bit more, you could do the 220 calls. There was $1 million spent on that. And even back here yesterday, they got into these ones, the 210 calls. So there is a lot of big money layered into it, all expecting a move. At least if, I would say if not by tomorrow after earnings, hopefully the guidance is good. That continues to push it up over the course of the next 1 to 2 months is kind of what these are saying. The weekly ones is always an indicator of what people are willing to bet in terms of a quick movement. You do see it aiming for above 200 and above 190 or 195. So you do see a lot of these 725s in here. So Google earnings, very possible that we'll see, very possible that we could see it move up. That's what the stack sentiment says. But as always, they do have to give out a good report. Now, in terms of the stewardship, the people, steering the boat, the CEO and all that, they're set up in a way where they're trying to make money for the shareholders. Let's talk about CVNA, Carvana. We saw Carvana.
I was gonna say I've been seeing some activity with them over the last week.
Here, let me look at the chart. So Carvana, we talked about a bit ago. You can see the distribution and the accumulation. We are in this reaccumulation push up toward the top, and we're very close to all-time highs for Carvana. A lot of people are talking about how this is like the comeback story of all time, where from the bottom to the top, this went from like a $3 stock up to like 300 something. So here it says 4,600%, 4,700% return. But it also did drop and crash from the highs in 2021, dropped 98, 99%. So, comeback story of the year, yeah, very possible. If you got in during those highs on the left side over here, it was ugly to look through. Let me double check. I do believe, was there a Stacks AI print that was on this?
No, there's just been some prints coming through for Carvana that have been kind of interesting. By the way, from that entry of 0.33 or 0.32 on American Airlines, it's already moving up in a good direction, up 5%. So
Carvana. Okay, so what really right here, all of these unusual ones. The thing with it is these are aiming for December and for September. So 450 by September, 500 by December. Definitely think that's possible for it as a company. We definitely need to see. We've got report for it coming up next week for Carvana. If I zoom in and over here, we're really just. Yeah, I kind of do. I do expect it to eventually break this previous high and attack that all-time high. But shoot, 450 and 500, that's still a.
I don't know, man. It's very popular. I'm in Michigan, and I can tell you it's very popular for people to buy used cars.
Well,
so
it's
in terms
the new
of
generation loves to do everything from their phones. So yeah, I see how that works.
So that's why I'm just kind of I kind of get it where it's like that seems really aggressive, but then it's also like, well, if they have a very loyal customer base, if you think about it, right? So if we look at it from the standpoint of like they have this loyal customer base, then it becomes a little easier to like justify that price tag attached to it when it's a customer driven um like consumer driven business, right? Because at the end of the day, if you have people who are going to come in and buy cars, the the price of your shares are going to continue to increase because you have this consistent traffic that's coming through,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, if you got a Carvana near you, go take a look at their vending machines, see if there's any, what cars
Dude,
are in there.
I can tell you right now, there's two in Michigan that I see when I go to like Tigers games or I go into Detroit. And I can tell you right now, I hardly ever see the same car twice
Okay.
within those vending machines. And you might, and yeah, there's some repeats that people don't buy, but like the marquee cars at the top, those are getting sold, like those are getting changed out on a pretty consistent basis. And I don't imagine them just changing them out, especially with the amount I've used Carvana in the past. And their email marketing has been pretty up and up as of recent because they keep trying to buy my current car. So it's a little annoying, but it shows that there's demand for people who do want to sell those cars and they're just trying to get that extra maybe 5%, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it looks like a strong chart headed up to at least approach and try for those all time highs. Their earnings next week. Let me see real quick. Their earnings. Yeah, earnings should be next week on. This says Wednesday, is it? So let me pull mine up.
We'll probably have a Carvana earnings preview up by towards the end of this week.
Cool. Yeah, 30th next week. Okay. Um, for those of you that are still in the chat, give me a stacks if you're still there. If there's anything else you want us to go over, don't hesitate. Let us know. Oh, STM. I missed that. Let's check out STM for min. STM.
Who's that? STM. I feel like it's a bio company. No, STM Microelectronics.
It says semiconductors on my trading view.
Oh, okay, nice.
V-shaped recovery in April, approaching where it had its own big drop. Weekly looks a little bit overextended. Same with the daily. It might have a little bit more of a pullback. I would not be surprised to see it try to fill its gap that it recently made. Point of control is a lot further down.
STM, it looks like Texas Instruments is one of their main competitors, and we saw how that just moved over the last month. So
Balance sheet looks decent. Their most recent quarter, their net margin dropped heavily.
on the news cycle, it looks like the sentiment and questioning is, are people undervaluing STM right now?
Right now, we do not have a code for lifetime membership for Discord. If you do, ICC10 should get you a 10% discount on the lifetime membership for Discord. Yeah, STM, what would you say? Their earnings is tomorrow before.
I would say maybe look how Texas Instruments did and how that's been moving, because one of the first articles that popped up were STM or TXN, which is the better buy. So
Well, but the
Typically,
difference was Texas Instruments was at all-time highs or near all-time highs. STN's nowhere close to that right now.
oh no, I'm just talking about in terms of like where investors are going to turn their money and attention to. If you have editorials coming out and asking which is which, typically the more undervalued stock has something up its sleeve that it'll announce probably within the next quarter.
That's fair. I get it. Yeah. P ratio 28.
I mean, let's be honest. Texas Instruments, I've been using them since I was in elementary school for calculators, so
Yeah.
they're not
Dude, they've got a
STM.
monopoly on that shit.
Exactly. So like STM, I'm pretty sure that's a fairly new company, so it's like yeah, they're not going to be at all-time highs, but if you have the semiconductor market questioning whether to buy STM or Texas Instruments, then that's a little bit of, in my eyes, like bullishness for that company in the long term, at least. Maybe not in the short term, where we could see some pullbacks, but long term wise, it's going to make investors think about where they're going to park their capital for those smaller cap semiconductors.
Yep.
Because I feel like Texas Instruments, their price is the way it is because they've been out since we were kids. So
Yeah.
that's just being in the game for as long as they have.
And another thing with it too is those $100 graphing calculators have not gone down in price since I was in school. So they definitely
I
have
think
a they have a monopoly on that.
I was gonna say, if anything, they've probably gotten more expensive.
Yeah. All right. We're going into close. We'll see how Tesla and Google go. I'll just pull up their charts for you guys too. Let's just do it that way today.
Google, I'm excited to see what happens with their. IBM's also another one I'm excited for.
Google and Tesla. Let's go into the 1 minute charts for those.
I also think with that nice pump we saw on SPY, that gave us a little bit of indication on how tech could respond here to earnings coming up. I feel like Google's got something up their sleeve they're going to announce and just like blow the doors off earnings.
Well, you know how we say that first reaction's always the wrong one? Google just dropped that close and came right back up to where it closed. So
Yeah,
might
so
have
that's
taken out
where
some of that liquidity right away.
but I'm just saying, like, I think IBM, let's take a look. What are they doing? Yeah, IBM sold off heavy sell off to 288 at its high today, and it's currently at 281. All right, here we go, 4:01 p.m. See what happens with Google.
Generally, it takes about 15 minutes for all these to really play out.
Yeah.
IBM is coming back up a little bit. Tesla.
I have a feeling though with
Not seeing anything
IBM,
right now.
Google, and companies like that, we need to wait for the earnings call. No?
Yeah. Well, it's just another catalyst, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what really drives these companies though, is like that. What do they say post earnings? Because that's what their outlook, or where they can address like a bad outlook, for example, right? Um,
Why's my Tesla not moving?
did Tesla get halted?
No, just TradingView's not showing anything.
How many times does Elon Musk say trillion
Oh,
dollar industry?
Google, push, push, push. Off my screen already. 193,
Boom,
194.
baby. I what did I I called out, by the way, if you're in our Discord, I called out the Google calls and took a small position in those 250s later on. So if you went ahead and tailed those, we should be opening quite nicely tomorrow. Let's frickin' go, boys. Let's flippin'
195.
go. That's what I like to see. Some Ronnie Coleman pump action here.
Yeah, why is Tesla not showing any sort of movement right now?
I don't know, dude. That's kind of creeping me out because that either means it's about to dump or pump really hard in either direction or IV crush both sides. To where if you were basically, you had to be in the money to be in some money, if you know what I mean. Oh God, IBM. I don't think it's not looking too hot. Oh geez, Google just gave up that whole candle, by the way. Back to 191.79 on Google here. If anybody here took some earnings positions, let us up. Google flips 188.83. Data burn. Ooh, that's
Is the
not good.
earnings even out?
I don't know, but Google just flipped heavy. That was a heavy candle. Whoops, let's see how SPY's reacting. That should give us a good indication. Yeah, SPY literally touched 634.88 and dipped right back down. So,
Google had a double beat.
oh,
Two.
Tesla's starting to show some action, by the way.
I don't know why it's
Wow,
frozen on mine.
Google tanking 188.01 down 1.49% in after hours here, folks. That is talk about a punch in the face.
Well, there we go. Had it on regular hours. There we go. Okay.
Ooh, Google with a nice push down to 186.64 currently, down 1.95% here. Tesla, we're seeing some nice upward price action at 333.
Well, so if you look at Google on the big picture, it basically tapped the top end of my wedge that I drew. Let me readjust it a little bit.
Ouch, Google. Ouch, 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 boys. That was a painful one right there.
Tesla headed up now.
I mean, all it takes is AI and Elon, and you're good to go, brother. Yeah, but I don't know, man. SPY might be looking kind of weak. Yeah, SPY's looking pretty weak. Dang, Google. That's crazy.
Yeah, with the
Let's see.
double beat too. We'll see what the guidance is, or
AAL.
what people read into their report. American Airlines, I think, dropped a little.
Yeah,
They haven't moved much yet.
I was gonna say they're flat right now. Yeah, Google beat by 7%.
Yeah, like we said, that's not always it. That's not
It's
always
that for
everything.
it's that forward guidance.
Yep.
Will shoot you
Let's
in
look
the
at
Achilles.
let's look at your Chipotle prediction. Chipotle's up so far. Are all these earnings actually completely out? Let's look at QuantumScape. QS, not much movement.
Ooh, CMG with a nice little gap up.
Service now. Oh man, look at that candle. Service now jumped up to 972 and came right back down.
Oof. Something had to hit. Japan trade deal. ServiceNow Q2 results. Expected to beat consensus on core offerings, strength AI initiatives. That's what Truist was saying earlier. That's crazy. Crazy, crazy.
Oh, look at that candle on IBM dropping right now.
IBM dropping?
Has this ugly looking candle.
Ooh, Jesus.
Tapped up to 288 and then came right back down, and it's on the bottom end of that candle.
Let's see, IBM. I mean, earnings definitely aren't going well because if you look at SPY, that thing is starting to fall. Ooh, IBM. Ouch. That is not what you want to see.
Yeah, well, I know we're zoomed in pretty far on a lot of these. If you go and look at just percentage moves, Google's down like 3%, not even, from its
Yeah.
close.
Oh,
IBM's
wow.
moving a little more. IBM's at close
Yeah.
to 5% down.
Down 5%.
Chipotle is up. Chipotle's up. No, that's not even a percent move on Chipotle. Service now, fairly flat. That is a big candle. So service now popped up. Oh, that was only 1.4%. It's only 0.12% so far. Fairly muted moves so far, guys.
Yeah, nothing
Nothing
too
so
aggressive.
huge. Yeah. Quantumscape's kind of back to where it closed. Tesla right around where where it closed. Same idea. Tesla moved. If anything, up not even 0.5% move so far. It's 0.15. So
Ouch, ouchie.
well, you know, Google only making $96 billion. Tesla. Did it actually report yet? Let's see. Just so you guys know, if you have Twitter, just put in, like for me, Tesla earnings and go under latest. That's usually what I can use to see what's going on. So it looks like they missed Tesla earnings adjusted 40 cents instead of 42, so down a little. 22.5 bill versus the 22.64 bill. That was, so maybe they did miss, but hey, we're seeing Tesla move right now.
I mean, it's Elon at the end of the day. If
Yeah.
it's one thing that guy can do, it is flip a narrative and make people look the other way.
Yep.
So I definitely am not, but also Tesla does have a history. One thing to be aware of just burning both sides of the candle,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Definitely seeing that action back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, even we're seeing IBM kind of recover here at that 269 level with a nice little green open on the 5 minute, but don't know, man. I'm not loving it. I'm not feeling like I'm at McDonald's right now.
Oh, Chipotle. Chipotle dropping. We called
Yeah,
that one.
those
Definitely called
fucking
that one.
little
Service.
$5.
Service
Yeah,
now up.
baby, let's fucking go, by the way. Oh!
Called that Chipotle drop. What else?
Like that was a no-brainer. And to give you guys perspective, I had Chipotle $52 puts and they were $1.33 each. Currently, they'll be $3.67 a contract
Yep.
if we
There we
keep these
go.
levels up. And if anything, I expect that conference call to be even worse. So, incoming. Oh, wow. That's a heavy sell off for the burrito maker.
Down 7.5% so far. It's not over for Google. We're seeing a recovery right now. Not a
Oh, yeah,
full.
no.
It's back. It's almost back to where it was at. It was trading at today. The lows of today. Huh. Could see it though. I could see. I could see it. We just gotta wait for that earnings conference call. I definitely think that they'll try to push it. So, if you guys are
Oh,
here watching
wow.
with us, let us know. Which earnings are you guys looking at? What are you guys watching? What did you guys get into? Comment down below for us. Give us that like button on our page, not just the chat box, the thumbs up on the actual stream. And also let us know, did you watch us and take any of the positions that we gave you guys?
Google, dude, only down 0.2%. Talk
Yeah.
about a Rocky Balboa like comeback here, folks. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
I mean, I will say, in the time that I've been trading and watching earnings calls and earnings reports, like, there's a over half the time this overnight stuff is only a little peek into what could potentially happen the next day.
Yeah,
Like, there are
like
times where it goes the complete other direction in the morning, right? There's times
mhm.
where when they go through their earnings call, suddenly a completely different picture. So, and a lot of times too, it's this like for Google, that first candle right off the bat, and then all of a sudden you see it reverse. Like, that happens more often than not. There's this thing where, like, when I see it go a certain direction right off the bat, I'm just like, ah, shit, like, good for a moment, give you that euphoric feeling, and then all of a sudden, sudden disappointment when it drops the other way. But again, stats at the end of the day, we'll have to see how it plays out, because what happens tomorrow at open can be a completely different story. So, good to have you guys all here with us. I saw almost 20 people on stream with us today, which is, I think, a record for us.
Mhm.
Happy to do this for you guys. All in exchange for a thumbs up on our stream, if anything. Now, we're hoping that we can be your go-to source when it comes down to, big money flow and earnings and analysis. We definitely said during this earnings seasons we want to be here more for you guys, and that's why we've been doing additional streams throughout the week. To get you guys ready for what's coming up.
Looks like CMGs are Lululemon. Almost 8%, 8.3%
Keeps
now.
on going.
So
Energizer
those,
Bunny.
oh my God, almost 9% at this
9%.
point.
9% now.
Jesus. Yeah, those contracts are 431 currently.
I love it.
Oh boy. Hot diggity.
Ooh, QuantumScape had a little pop. Pop and came. Oh man, popped and came right back down.
Yeah.
Ooh, went all the way up
I
to
mean,
what? 1387.
I mean,
Now
in
it's
my
back
head,
down.
if IBM doesn't do well, QuantumScape's not doing well,
Well, for me, part of our analysis for QuantumScape was that it had such a big run up before this earnings. It definitely has a lot more risk to the downside, in which you could see a sell off or like this, a pop up, and overnight you'll just see them start to sell off once it takes out some of the liquidity on the upper end of things.
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, Google's holding strong for having sold off so far. I'm expecting that we'll see the
That
earnings call.
conference.
Yeah, I'll see the conference call is probably going to be the determiner of where things go. If they say anything that the investors don't like, we'll see the sell off. If they are able to give solid guidance, that could be the push up. But they're a solid company overall. I mean, everybody uses Google to some form, some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah, it would be hard for that thing to sell off, like to the point where you're losing substantial amounts of money just because of how integrated they are with just modern technology at this point.
interesting thing to look at for Chipotle. Look at my lines of resistance that we went to. There's a little bit of a bounce around it. Now we just tapped that lower end, the 47.98, tapped it and came back up. So that's what I draw those lines for. They're just lines in which you can expect the buyers and sellers to be gathered around, where you can see a lot more action potentially happening. So that's just how you would use those in terms of your trading.
I mean, my target for Chipotle was 45. So we're only like a dollar and some change away from that. Down 9.2% right now.
Yep.
And I have a feeling that their conference call is not going to go that well. Like if we're almost seeing a 10% sell-off just from EPS and revenue, what's that going to tell us about?
Big old sell off. I love it. What are your contracts looking at?
Currently we are at 484 per contract.
Love it.
488.
Do you think Trump AI
501.
summit today will boost Google? Uh,
Maybe.
maybe. Yeah, depending on how AI is perceived in it.
Let's see here. Looks like we got some more movement with now, maybe. Yo, service now pop back up, dude.
Ooh,
Like
yep.
that candle peaked at 1050.
Yeah, almost a 10% move to the top.
I mean, we were bullish on now going into it. Bullish on now going into that. So I'm not mad at it. Not mad one bit.
Tesla coming right back down to where they closed. So
Tesla doing Tesla things. That's all you can chalk it up to, boys and girls. That's just what Tesla does. Gives you false confidence and then just rips you right back down to reality. As Eminem would say, oh, there goes gravity. Oh,
Man, these earnings are all over the place.
dude, I don't know how whatchamacallit's about to open tomorrow. SPY.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of SPY's price activities was going to be based off of how earnings closed today
Yeah.
for these big companies. But if we're getting mixed reports, it's really going to come down to these conference calls, I feel like. Like that's
Tesla breaking down below their resistance. We just got a wick here. Tesla breaks
because
down below that wick on the right. Yeah. Oh, there we go. There's the push. There we
Elon
go.
came
We're gonna
out and
start
went,
seeing.
"Welcome the Freedom Party" or whatever
I mean,
political party.
hopefully, he didn't do another salute.
Oh my God. I mean, he came out and was like, I'm going to focus on the company. And then a week later was like, all right, so here's a new political party. It's like, what? Dude, you just told us
Yeah, I
you were
mean, we said
gonna.
Tesla's got a bearish look to it, so this is the possibility of it starting to break down underneath it. Could start seeing that soon.
It's gonna be brutal.
I mean, they definitely have a lot of headwinds.
Oh my God, deliveries are like some of the worst they've seen in years, I think.
I mean, I know for, I mean, recently they had a 0% offer for like their Model Ys. I'm guessing that they had a lot of stock of them. And you know, I know a couple people who ended up purchasing because they're able to get such a good financing rate on it, but it seems desperate in terms of it, and especially with EV credits going away in the
Oh
upcoming
yeah,
months.
that took all the sales out of buying EVs.
If this Google goes down, what do you think is the narrative now for Mag 7? I mean, you guys have to keep in mind, I see, you know, I'm zoomed in quite heavily on this chart here just to see these movements that are going on. But look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. If I zoom back out, in reality, okay, let's go to the 4 hour because that actually shows you what just happened overnight. Guys, look at what happened. All it really did so far is it respected the upper trend line and this lower trend line that I've drawn. It hasn't even started to break down below it. So in reality, this could turn out to be just flat going into tomorrow, and life continues to resume normally right after. Obviously, what you're going to hear is you're going to hear a lot of fear in the markets because, oh my God, Google went down after earnings. But look at the numbers, guys. We have a double beat. Okay? A 93 billion dollar company had a 2% beat. So they made 96 billion dollars, guys. Is that something to be worried about?
No.
Not really. If you're the CEO of this company, the price is going to reflect, you know, market sentiment and things like that, but at the end of the day, what really matters is what your company is actually doing, if they're making money or not. Google's making plenty of money. So, you know, I would actually say the other side of it is more so Tesla narrative is definitely going to go down right now. We just saw it break down below that wick. We're now back at that, but it's pushing down right now, 327, possibly headed down further. So, you know, what the narrative is probably gonna. I believe there's very likely going to be a continued attack on Elon, just in
Yep.
terms of his character, in terms of, you know, they're trying to distract from a lot of the things that are going on. So you'll definitely see them, you know, point fingers, and for that to be the distraction going on, and especially when they can pull away money from his stock, which is his overall, you know, net worth. You'll definitely start to see, you know, a commotion around that. But yeah, Google, realistically, I think tomorrow when we open, even if it's down a little bit, as long as it's respecting this upward trend line, we very likely can see a bounce back up and then attacking that gap that we see above, especially with all the buying pressure that we have seen. Tesla, you guys already know my thesis on Tesla. I think it's headed toward distribution and that there's going to be a push for that. It kind of reminds me, let me just put it on the big, reminds me of Spotify. Some ugly drawings on here. Let me fix that for you guys. Spotify, if you go look back at Spotify, back in 2021, what we had was you see this big distribution pattern right here. What happened with Spotify was you had the whole Joe Rogan podcast that helped push it up, and then all of a sudden he was deciding to leave, and there was a bunch of the narrative with Spotify is like, you know, they're losing one of their biggest podcasters, nobody's going to use it anymore, and it pushed it all the way back down, and it broke out of that distribution channel. It came back down, towards 70 something. Now it's at a 700, 600 something. So, you know, in due time it can go back up. But I want you to think about that with Tesla. Tesla's got a very similar shape to that, where you had this push up, and right now you're in this area which we call the last point of supply. So if it doesn't get bought up and there's reasons for people to continue buying into the stock, you're going to see it come back down toward this 228, maybe even as far down as like this 184 range, especially because as well it has a PE ratio of 180, which means it takes 180 times its earnings for it to be worth what the stock is. My easy explanation was, if you own a small business, we just use a lemonade stand as an example, and your lemonade stand, let's say it makes 10K every year. Well, a PE ratio of 10 would mean 100K. So if your business, your lemonade stand is valued at 100K, and somebody were to purchase it, they would want to, you know, very likely pay at least a certain multiple of how much you're making every single year. Well, in this situation, 180 means that your $10,000 revenue or $10,000 profits for your little lemonade stand, they're willing to pay 1.8 mil for your lemonade stand that makes $10,000 a year. Like, come on, guys, think of that. Now, obviously, in this situation, your lemonade stand is Tesla, and this Tesla is making where we have their revenue. We'll go under annual. Annual revenue is 97 bill. Okay, $97 billion in revenue per year. Okay, so understand that, but we have to worry about what their actual income and what their actual profits are. I believe that should be this net income, 77.13. So they're being valued at 180 times that. That gives them the market capitalization of $1 trillion. So it doesn't have to make sense right away. Like, why would you value this company at that level? It has a lot to do with forward guidance, what you expect for the future. A lot of people believe that that Tesla, or, you know, I've heard this before, is that Elon's supposed to be our savior in a sense, that the green energy, the SpaceX and all these things, they trust in Elon to direct humanity in a way. Now, the issue that obviously right now, is that necessarily what you would think of him? Probably not, especially with all the political doings and everything and him getting involved. There's a lot of, there's a big attack on his character, and a lot of people are starting to doubt that, hey, this might not be the guy we want to treat as our Tony Stark of, you know, our Iron Man of our world. And that, I do believe, is going to start to push his stock price down over time, unless he can do something positive about it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Google earnings call is happening. Let's see. Price, still nothing, guys. We'll have to see. If it breaks down below that 184, we'll talk. If it breaks back above that 189, we'll talk. Right now, it's just right in the middle. Earnings call, you have to remember, these are all the people that work for the company that want to see their stock price go up. So you've got more upward pressure for this. Obviously, if something goes, you might see it drop, but that has more to do with certain keywords that they need to avoid saying. And with a company this big, they've got a whole PR team behind them going, do not say these words, right?
Yeah.
Do not say, poor forward guidance, or, we expect lower, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, obviously they need to be as transparent as they possibly can about certain things. But at the end of the day, you have them working to try to boost this up. So, yeah, we saw a little drop so far. A lot of people, I know some people in our Discord are a little bit worried about it because they might have gotten in on these earnings. But this was closed today right here. Closed today. As of a drop, a 3% drop off of earnings is nothing. Okay?
No.
And where we're at right now, it's not even a percent move. It's 0.91% down. It's down $1.73. So, if you're one of those people where your hands get sweaty watching this stuff, first off, you probably got into a bigger position than you should have. You need to be a little bit more conscious and aware of your position sizing. It shouldn't be doing that to you. But on the other hand is, if you're in options, there's absolutely nothing you can do about this right now. Close your charts, go get your mind off things, go to the gym, go do 20 push-ups right now, get your mind off of it, come back to it tomorrow morning, because there is absolutely nothing you can do with that options position until market opens. But we're seeing a little bit of a push. It's got to break back up above 189 so it can attack where we were at today. Tesla, same idea. Dropped down, but kind of came right back up. Back at 133. Or 131, sorry. 130. ServiceNow up pretty decently. ServiceNow was one of the big movers. The two big movers were ServiceNow went up as high as 9.6%. And Max's favorite, Chipotle, dropped here almost 10%. It's sitting at about 9 something. He's going to wake up to some decent profits.
Let's fucking go.
We'll be talking about that tomorrow for sure. QuantumScape, had a big push, came back down, took out liquidity below. That wick gives me more of a thought that we might see a little higher, but that's still kind of nothing for QS. IBM, let's see what. IBM's down.
I had a firm belief in their quantum computing.
But you have a long-term view for it, so that does not have to reflect with just this earnings. And take a look too. Double beat. 5% on earnings, 2% on revenue. Made almost $17 billion, and stock price goes down. That's just what the markets do.
It's probably guidance, to be honest, especially with them because they are pivoting their business model. So a little bit of I wasn't expecting a beat. I was just more excited about what do they have potentially to announce coming into this call, just because they do have a lot of exciting things happening company-wise that would get, I think, investors a little more excited.
Google's kind of making a push back up to where it was at close, back at 190. Yeah, I think we'll see Google a bit higher in the morning. We're starting to see some pushes.
100%. I think they bounce back off that earnings call, if we're being honest.
Yeah. And we're already seeing it come back. Also, another reminder, guys, this is all low volume stuff. This is just big money pushing around. Once everybody's left the markets and you see after hours, it's a lot of times it's a lot of market manipulation. That's just what you're going to expect. As time goes on, when the market opens, you'll see the big spikes, you'll see the buy-ups or the sell-offs. right off, especially in the first probably 10 to 15 minutes is where you'll see all that action. We got American Airlines tomorrow, right? Yeah, tomorrow before open. Well, at least there was a little bit of excitement right off the bat with these pushes up and down now.
Right, dude?
A lot of these are just flat right now. Quite flat. Yeah, post-market right here. Down 0.01%. Go green. Go back green.
I mean, I'd rather see it would make more sense for Google to pump than it would for it to be a
Yeah.
sell-off. And
Right.
like we wake up to Google's down 15%. I'd be like, what the hell happened? Like,
I don't expect that big of a move.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the only one I see that big of a move is Chipotle, to be honest. But I've been raving about that all week, so.
Yeah.
Short Chipotle to the gulag. That thing, nobody likes it.
On a side note, this little bugger is officially 6 months old, and he's got his little outfit on that says
Yeah,
halfway to one.
halfway to one. That's when life really starts.
Yeah. What's up, buddy? Got a little bow tie on for him today. It's a party day. All right. If you guys in the chat have anything else you guys want us to look over before we log off, I don't think there's going to be too much else going on here.
Yeah, I mean, I got the daily recap that's gonna come out here shortly once I get off here, but
Make sure you subscribe to Max's Substack. It's down in the description box below if you want to get some of those additional earnings and additional reports that he puts together. Thank you, Morris. Yes, it's very... Oh, let's look at Circle real quick for you guys. CRCL.
I think the bottom I saw for Circle was 110 if it lost 125, I think.
That far?
Yeah. There's like no real buyers in between that. That was like the next big level that
Oh,
I
I
saw.
see. It's got some support back at 177. It could drop down
Oh,
to
wait,
like
no,
190.
that was not Circle.
Yeah.
Whoops. Circle was like the last heavy gap it would have to fill is when it gapped up from like 191 to 194. So like 194 to 191 could be that gap fill potentially.
All right, Circle, if you look at my resistance line here, this is where your support is in terms of the trend line. If it breaks down below that, you'll probably see it revisit some of these spots. If it breaks down below this range, you've got low volume down till there. Maybe even not even there, a little bit further actually. Okay. So
Another gap up 96.
they are profitable, which is a good look. However, yeah, they've got an earnings report coming out in 20 days. You could probably, I would say, as of right now, just looking at where we're at, there's a possibility you can see a rejection off this lower support line to head back up a little bit. It is a, is this all of its, It is a brand new company or a brand new IPO, so
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not. There's not a lot of historical data to look at with it.
yeah, it's hard to tell exactly what's about to happen with it. We could see a run up. This could be a reaccumulation. This could be a distribution. It's hard to tell. Sometimes with these newer companies, you see a quick pump up. You see a lot of selling off, which I do see a bit of selling off here. So it very possible could head back down toward lower ends. But, you know, if you're truly holding on this over time, I do believe could be a company that does fairly well. I got to do a little bit more research into it later, see what exactly they do. But yeah, it seems like there was quite a bit of hype in it right off the bat. So will it sell off? Will it come back? Will it go back up? It's in this wedge. See if it respects the rest of this pattern. You could see it come back up. Excuse me, toward the top of this wedge. If it breaks down, then it's headed back down toward about 163. Circle, Stacks AI call by a few days ago. Yeah, they're aiming for 300 by December. So here's another thing you guys can do. Take a look at this. So if I go in here, and this is one way to kind of get a gauge of it. So long position, they are aiming for December, which is all the way out here. And they're aiming for 300. So you can imagine all this green, they're aiming for the top right corner of that, and that's not even to make money on it. That's just where the strike is aiming. You got to add on the price of what they've bought that for in order to get, you know, for them to be profitable. So in reality, there's kind of this curve. There's this curve in here, right? You can draw like a straight line, and you have to remember there's a little bit of it where it needs to be, not even that, let's give that a little bit more. A little bit above it is where they want it to be in order for them to be really profitable on that. So let's keep that in mind. Could I see it go up there? Yeah, I definitely can see it go up there, but there's got to be reason for it. Terms of like Wyckoff and the news, you got to see them continue to push and to prop it up, talking about how good this company can be, and see it bought up from there. So give it time. You know, December's quite some time away from it right now. Google, back to it, back up toward where it popped up to. A little bit of selling off near that top of that wick, but I think we could see above 195 by tomorrow, easy.
Oh yeah, no, this thing's gonna pump. They're gonna announce something stupid overnight or on their earnings call where it's gonna be like, we have commercial grade quantum computers, and then all of a sudden it'll be like everybody raises their price target to 275.
I agree. All right. If anybody, you guys don't have anything else, Max and I will discuss it. I think tomorrow the only real thing that I saw on the earnings was, I think, like Intel or something like that. Intel, maybe Newmont. So we might just.
I already put out an Intel preview, by the way.
Cool. So
So
if you're in our
if
Discord,
you guys want to see that,
there, you guys are in our Discord. You can see that. Go under TG Trades. You'll see all those earnings reports. If you're not in our Discord, you still want some of the information, make sure you get in on Max's Substack. That's down there on the description box. He also posts quite a lot of the YouTube videos are posted not only on his channel but ours as well, and us as well. The Investor Central Beehive is down there too. One last question: do you need upgraded tier of TradingView to see live 1 minute post market action? Yes, a lot of stuff is actually delayed. So let me show you, for example, my futures is delayed because I don't trade futures. You'll see this D on the top right next to the name that shows delayed. data is delayed. In this case, it's delayed 10 minutes. Ooh, we're seeing a pump back up on S&P, by the way. So there will be a delay in certain situations. So depending on what you are trading, what you need, it is useful to go and purchase some of the live market data for what you're looking at, especially if you're doing scalps and things like that. So keep that in mind. But yeah, for us right now, if we're looking at Google, by the way, Google has two tickers, GOG and GOGL. They move very similarly. The only thing is the original owners of Google decide to split it up into two separate tickers so that they can maintain ownership and control of it. So one has voting rights while the other one doesn't, I believe. But yeah, so you'll see there's nothing up here that says it's delayed. It's all in real time for mine on here. All right, I gotta go take care of this little guy. You guys have a great rest of your day. We will be back at this. Probably we'll do one over the weekend to get ready for next week's earnings. We will be very active in our Discord as always. If you're in our Stacks platform, you guys can always chat with us in there as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this today. Give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. I've got it on my phone as well, so anytime that we do go live, it sends me a notification that we're doing our live stream so that you guys can jump in on that. With that being said, happy trading. We will see you guys in the very next one. Later.